Deadpool and Wolverine is the official title of Deadpool 3 coming out this July. And I haven't been this excited for a Marvel film since Avengers Endgame, which was almost 5 years ago. X-Men was the first live action Marvel movie I saw as a kid. It's awesome to see Hugh Jackman come back as Wolverine, even though I loved the plot of Logan and thought it was a great end to his character and to his story arc and to the Fox universe as well, because even though I think Deadpool 2 came out after that, it was clear at that time that Fox was going to be sold to Marvel. But the teaser trailer was released during the Super Bowl, and I've probably watched it about 10 times at this point. I don't usually make videos reacting to trailers or, digging through the Easter eggs of the trailer, but this is a special case. This has been the only Marvel project that I've been excited for in a while, and I thought there were some interesting things that I'd like to talk about. This definitely feels like a swan song, both for the character of Deadpool and obviously for the Fox X-Men movie universe. I don't think this will be Deadpool's last appearance. Rather, this will just be his last solo film. He might make a couple cameos here and there, and then make a full cameo in Secret Wars. But this is Kevin Feige kind of giving a true bookend to all of the Fox, X-Men, Deadpool, and possibly other franchises like Daredevil and the Fantastic Four, as I believe Jennifer Garner as Elektra has been confirmed to be part of the cast, while characters like Charles Xavier, played by Patrick Stewart, are still only rumored at this point. But obviously the big draw is Wolverine, and it's a huge deal that Hugh Jackman came back because he said he was done with Logan. It took a physical toll on his body to keep getting that jacked for the role of Wolverine. And, as you watch throughout each movie, you can tell he takes it more seriously and he actually gets in better shape as he goes on, as he gets older. And he just didn't want to continue that lifestyle anymore. Though I believe in an interview a while back, he said he'd come back if he was like in an Avengers film. Now, this isn't Avengers. I honestly don't believe that we'll be seeing any main MCU characters, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, it's like, what's the chances they're going to bring back Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. or even characters that still exist like Thor, the Hulk? I just don't see it happening. There's a big TVA presence. I think that's as far as we're going to get, besides seeing video footage of certain events in the Marvel Universe. But like I mentioned, there are a number of Easter eggs throughout this trailer, which are fairly interesting, and I kind of like that they went the route of showing Easter eggs rather than really diving deep into what exactly is happening in the plot and who the main villain is, because I think it'd be more exciting for fans, especially given what we've had to watch through the past few years, to actually be surprised going into a film. Hopefully there's not too many leaks. Hopefully they were able to keep some secrecy on the set, so that we can go into it somewhat blind with a fresh perspective and just enjoy the film. So some of the Easter eggs I noticed were Wolverine is obviously in the film. He's in his kind of traditional costume, but he also has an appearance as his alter ego Patch. And this is an alter ego that he's taken on a number of times in the comics that he uses to infiltrate and gain information from the criminal underworld, specifically from Madripoor, a country that is basically devoted to crime, a country that was introduced in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, though I'm not sure if it'll be the same version given that this is tied to the Fox X-Men universe. And typically, Wolverine, as his Patch persona, goes to the Princess Bar, which was also in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but again, I think it's going to be a very different version. So it's interesting that they show that. I'm not sure if that's how Deadpool recruits him, or if he's actually facing a different version of Wolverine and has to kill him. Other characters, there are a number of mercenary-looking characters that are the villains. I don't recognize most of them, except for this guy who I didn't recognize at first, but IMDb says it's the actor who played Pyro in the original X-Men trilogy. So obviously that guy's come back. I assume he's going to have his fire-based powers again. There's a very brief shot, and you can hardly tell, but I believe that this is Alioth from the Loki series, which means that at least a portion of this film is going to take place in the Void, the place where, everyone who the TVA deems as an aberration or a variant gets sent to in order to fix the timelines, which means that Deadpool either gets pruned or he finds a way to travel to the Void voluntarily. And then obviously there's the 20th Century Fox logo, which is going to be like a big meta joke about how the Fox universe is ending with this movie. In terms of the plot, I think there's some basic elements in the trailer, but again, I kind of like that they're not getting too detailed. I would like to be somewhat surprised as to what's happening, unlike every other Marvel movie I've seen for a while, where you pretty much know what's going to happen. So from the trailer, it looks like the TVA recruits Deadpool, and we're not told what the mission is. They basically tell him he can be the hero of heroes. They show him footage of stuff that's taken place in the MCU, such as the founding of the Avengers, the Hydra battle at the beginning of Avengers Age of Ultron, Thor and Thor Ragnarok gaining his like true power, and the events of Captain America in the Winter Soldier, where Deadpool is shown saluting Captain America. It'd be really interesting if they say that like Captain America existed in the Fox universe somehow. But throughout the trailer, Deadpool is fighting both TVA and some mercenary characters. And it's weird that he's fighting the TVA if they recruited him, which tells me that he probably went rogue sometime during the mission, or they were actually framing Deadpool for some reason. In terms of who the overarching villain is, there's this bald character here, and I know there's been rumors that the main villain is going to be Cassandra Nova, who in the comics is the evil twin sister of Charles Xavier. She basically has the same powers. She's best known for a story called E is for Extermination, I think, where she took Sentinels and wiped out millions of mutants on the island of Genosha. There's also the actress, I believe her name is Emma Corrin, who in IMDb, it isn't listed what her role is, so she could be Cassandra Nova. Another option could be like an evil Deadpool. Maybe the TVA pruned another version of Deadpool before, and he was either already evil or he became evil in the void. But we can assume that this is going to be somewhat of a buddy cop movie, and that Deadpool teams up with a version of Wolverine at some point, possibly to save the Fox universe, whereas the TVA, it looks like it's probably going to try to end it, as well as whoever the main villain is. This is Deadpool from the revised timeline. So at the end of Deadpool 2, he used Cable's time travel watch to travel back in time to save his girlfriend, as well as the X-Force characters who died during that mission, where a few of them got put into a wood chipper. One guy got electrocuted, another guy got chopped up in a helicopter. So you see in the beginning, you see Colossus, Dopinder, Blind Al, can't remember the guy's name, is that fat biker guy. There's Shatterstar, Peter, I think his name was. Cable wasn't there, unfortunately, so I can assume that he probably returned to his own time by that point. And obviously his girlfriend. And so the TVA, either they initially go to him to recruit him, or they go to him to prune his timeline because he's altered time. But either way, I think they do end up recruiting him for a certain mission, and then he goes rogue or something. I think either way, the plot is going to be really interesting. And then kind of going over like the end of the Fox universe stuff, I'm curious as to whether the Fox logo, the 20th Century Fox logo, is just an Easter egg and kind of a basic Deadpool type joke, or if it's like a multi-layered Deadpool joke where the Fox X-Men are actually a fictionalized story of the X-Men within the MCU's multiverse. I know that sounds kind of confusing, but basically what I'm saying is that within the multiverse of the MCU, that the Fox X-Men films, rather than being actual events, are a fictionalized version of the events. So they're actually movies, and that this is basically them pruning 20th Century Fox, the company, and therefore getting rid of the movie timeline. Either that, or it is just a kind of a simpler meta joke where they're basically bookending the Fox X-Men universe. However, in the final scene of the trailer, there is also a Secret Wars comic. Now, obviously, having these kind of characters from the Fox X-Men universe and possibly other Fox franchises, they are definitely going to tie some of them in to Secret Wars, which will come out at some point. Secret Wars in the comics, there's two versions. The second version, which I think is what they're drawing on based off of the cover. I can't tell exactly what issue it is based on the cover, but I'm pretty sure it's from the 2015 Secret Wars version based on the fact that they've mentioned incursions in the Multiverse of Madness. But basically, it dealt with the multiverse and how different pieces of Earth from the multiverse were coalesced together into one planet called Battle World. And so you had these different regions where you had similar characters. So you could have a Wolverine in every region of Battle World, and they can meet each other. So I think Secret Wars, which I believe is still going to feature Kang despite all the drama with Jonathan Majors, is, it's basically going to be taking all these action figures and kind of throwing them at each other, even more so than Avengers Endgame. And so I think this, more than anything we've seen in the MCU so far, is actually going to signal to fans that we are leading to Secret Wars, which is interesting because it's a Deadpool movie, it's a comedy. But I think that unlike everything we've seen in the multiverse saga so far, I think this will be the best multiverse movie. Even though it's gonna not take itself super seriously, I think the multiverse works best in that manner unless you're going into the Secret Wars story where the multiverse is ending and Doctor Doom rebuilds it, or in the case of the MCU, it's probably going to be Kang. But unless you're going to go like end of the multiverse, I don't think they should have featured any multiverse stuff up until this point. But it works for Deadpool because of the tone of the film. In my opinion, this is going to work better than Doctor Strange 2. You know, even though we got to see Charles Xavier in the film showing us that the X-Men do exist somewhere in the MCU multiverse, I just think the plot and the comedic tone will work better with all the multiverse stuff. Despite how excited I am for the movie, there is one thing that bothers me, and that is that Zeb Wells, who, if you didn't know, is the current writer on the god-awful Amazing Spider-Man run, the guy who wrote the story with Mary Jane being married to some other dude with kids. He wrote the screenplay for Deadpool 3, according to IMDb. Now, there are a bunch of other writers, to include Ryan Reynolds, but it says he wrote the screenplay, which worries me a little bit. I mean, this is Deadpool, but at the same time, this is also a Disney Deadpool film. They promised that this would be rated R, but, you know, who knows? I think Marvel definitely sees this as a kind of last shot to reel the fans back in, to bring them back to stick around for the multiverse saga. I mean, they named the film Deadpool and Wolverine instead of Deadpool 3 with a subtitle about the Marvel Universe or a subtitle about Wolverine. So they're trying their hardest to get people in. I just hope they stick the landing, because just for me, this isn't going to turn around the MCU. This can be the best film ever, but it's just one film. They've spent the last 5 years ruining Marvel. You can't fix it with one film. You have to make a great film and then consistently make great films. You know, the MCU was supposed to get better over time, not worse. So even if this feels like a return to form, they need to show us that they can still do it afterwards. You know, it seems like, except for one guy, they have a good creative team, they have characters that people really care about, and they have good actors. But knowing the projects going forward, the likelihood that they're going to be consistent with all those three things, it seems unlikely. So I don't look at this as the next Avengers Endgame in terms of, you know, kind of wrapping up Marvel and being the epitome of quality in Marvel entertainment. It's going to be a very entertaining film. It's going to be fun to watch. But I think it's going to be a break in the low quality rather than a turnaround for the franchise. So let me know what you guys think about the film in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell so that you never miss out on a new video. Thanks for watching.